Tolkien died, his works were in disarray. He left behind a massive manuscript which had built up over half a century of disconnected work on the first two ages of Middle-earth. It's worth remembering that on his death he had only published The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings and The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, and there were shelves of books still to be made up from this surviving mass of papers. And so it fell to his son Christopher to publish the remaining history and legends of Middle-earth and make his father's legacy. His first task was to assemble and publish the Silmarillion, the account of the Elder Days or First Age of Middle-earth. Christopher transformed his Oxfordshire barn into a vast study, with the papers sprawled across a giant dining table in the middle of the room. And these were sorted, deciphered, transcribed and edited from 3 different versions of the book, ranging over 50 years. The first had been begun in 1917, scribbled in notebooks by Tolkien just after the Battle of the Somme and 20 years before The Hobbit was even published. The second was in existence by 1930 when he was beginning work on The Hobbit, and the third he was working on right at the end of his life. All these changes to the book over the course of half a century, both fundamental in nature and to small details, through retellings of legend and more complex subtext, made the task seem impossible. There was also the problem of deciphering Tolkien's handwriting. Manuscripts would often begin in that familiar, elvish-like calligraphy, but then descend into a rapid scrawl as he got more excited by the beauty and imagination of his ideas. And yet, just 4 years after Tolkien's death, Christopher had taken this mass of papers and, with the help of Guy Kay, had turned disparate scrawled notebooks, scribbled maps and sheafs of manuscript into what seemed impossible: a single coherent book. There is probably not another author in history who has had the honour of a son devoting half his life to honouring their work with such skill, scholarship, instinct, erudition and understanding. Christopher's final work was The Fall of Gondolin, published when he was 94 years old in 2018, and he would pass away a little over a year later. I'd like to share with you what he wrote in the introduction to that book. Looking back over my work, now concluded over 40 years, I believe my purpose was to give more prominence in the nature of the Silmarillion and its vital existence in relation to the Lord of the Rings, thinking of it rather as the first age of my father's world, of Middle-earth and Valinor.